Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today's guest proves that it is never too late to achieve your lifelong dreams and goals. Beth Brookhart produced her first book or published her first book at age 67. She is drawing from her experience working on her local historical museum board, and she has seen how people can either make an organization or break an organization. Now she's on to her second book, so we're going to be talking to Beth about achieving her dreams no matter what, and really proving that age is just a number. So Beth, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Curtis.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. I'm originally from Denver, Colorado, but have lived in California for most of my adult life. I spent 20 some years as an agricultural journalist covering stories about agriculture and farming in California and Texas and Arizona, and then moved into doing some communications work also in agriculture, because where I live in California, there is a lot of farming. And so that seemed to be the thing to do. And just a little bit on the personal side, my husband is a farmer. He grows grapes, the kind you eat, not the kind you drink. And I have 2 children and 5 grandchildren and 2 big slobbery dogs. So that's my personal side. But I began writing a novel, actually a different novel than the one I had published back in 2010, realizing I had no clue what I was doing. So since 2010, I retired a little ways after that from my job and began writing full time. And I've really enjoyed it, enjoyed the process. And I guess that's a little bit of my story.
Well, tell us about your writing process. Do you do an outline or do you just wing it?
No, I just wing it, which I wish so badly I was the kind of person who outlined it, because I think that's so organized and orderly. But no, I generally let a novel rattle around in my head. I've probably got 3 or 4 novels rattling around in my head, and I usually know the beginning and I know the end. I just don't know the middle. So a lot of times I'll just start it knowing how I want to start it and who my character is. I let my character sort of simmer in my head for a long time. Who is my main character? What are they doing? What are they like? What are their traits? I don't write it down. I should, but I feel like I know them, like they're somebody I know. So I just kind of keep it in there until I start writing, and then it just kind of comes out naturally. The problem with that kind of process is I end up making a lot of changes down the road, like, oh, this just didn't work. I'm going to take this part out. And then sometimes I move things around. So that's why I wish I were an outliner, but it's just not in me. I'm just not that kind of a person.
Well, are the characters in your book, are any of them real?
No, everyone asks me that and everyone tries to guess. It's kind of funny. But no, some were very much inspired by people I knew because, along your way, you meet some really interesting people, some people with some interesting personality characteristics. And so, of course, I've been inspired by that, but nobody is real. And my book is set in the 1950s. So I'm old, but I'm not that old. I didn't grow up in the 50s. So no, nobody is real in the book, but there's some commonality in a few of them.
Well, I know volunteerism is a common theme in your book. So why did you choose that as a theme?
Well, I didn't initially set out to make that a theme, but it just sort of came about as I wrote, because I realized, it's one thing to have a job and you work for a company or an organization. There, the employer has some controls on you. There are rules you have to follow. If you don't do this or this, you might lose your job or whatever. With volunteers, you don't have a lot of control. And volunteers are a lot of times used for organizations that are struggling, that need a lot of help, that don't have the money to hire people to do things. And so I realized how incredibly important volunteers are, and they really truly can save an organization, or sometimes they can make it go a little bit off the rails and wreck. So I did a little bit of the wrecking side in the book, but I thought it was an interesting dynamic in that you really could not control the four queens of the Buttonbush Museum. There was nobody to stop them because they were volunteers. They weren't getting paid.
Yeah, well, talk about your publishing process. How did you choose to publish your book, and what do you feel about the state of the publishing industry today?
Ugh, that's a big topic. Well, I had originally written a different novel that didn't go anywhere, and I had what they call queried that. And for those who aren't familiar with that, if you want to publish traditionally, the old-fashioned way of publishing, the first step is you have to get a literary agent, and to do that, you have to do what they call query, which is you write a letter. There are lists and lists of these literary agents. They're most all in New York. They're all very young, usually. And you write a letter and you say, here's my book, here's what it's about, blah, blah, blah. And they may or may not read it. You don't know where it goes. It just ends up in some vast email pile at their desk. So you never really know what happens. So I did that with the first book, and I also did it with the Four Queens of the Buttonbush Museum book as well. I queried that and I got no luck there. So then I decided I would try to go straight to a publisher, a small publisher who didn't require a literary agent. There are some that don't. Most publishing houses do ask for a literary agent to represent an author, but there are some that don't. So I started sending out uh, query letters to them, and I didn't hear anything because it usually takes a long time to hear things like that. So I began investigating self publishing, which is a perfectly legitimate way to publish a book. I think self publishing has truly opened up writing to so many people who would have no access to it, who had no way to get their book out before. But I really wanted to make it quality. So I was looking for quality self publishers, but it was very expensive. I priced it out, and gosh, the ones I looked at, it was anywhere from $10,000 to $35,000. So that was a lot. So I was hemming and hawing, like, oh, I don't want to spend that kind of money. And that's when I got an email from my publisher, Sibylline Press. They're a small, very small publishing house, and they publish only the works of women over the age of 50, which I thought, yay, I fit that. I fit that criteria. And so that's how I found them. And it's kind of fun to be in a cohort of women, about the same age. And we all had tried really hard to get published, and nobody would look at us. Nobody would give us a shot in most cases. So in that case, it's turned out really well. It's still a really hard process. I think it's a very inefficient process to have to query a literary agent. It takes a long time. They often don't respond. I sent out countless emails of query letters and got nothing back. Not even a thanks, but no thanks. Just nothing. So it's a really inefficient and archaic process, in my opinion, but they don't seem inclined to change it. So I'm glad I found the route I did of going straight to a publisher and being able just to work with the publisher directly.
Do you find it difficult to write humor? Why not?
Oh, um, humor kind of comes naturally to me, but you have to be really careful when you write humor because not everything works for everybody. Um, and the book is set in the 1950s, so I had to adjust it to that time period. Humor now can be really vulgar in a lot of cases, really cruel. Um, and I didn't want to write that kind of a book. And in the 1950s, that really wasn't a thing. So I drew a lot on my mom and my grandma, who both were pretty good jokesters and could pop off a one-liner here and there. To crack me up when I was a kid. And so I drew a lot from them. But I tried not to take it overboard because nobody wants to be hit over the head with humor. You just kind of want it to be sort of steady and subtle, but not, I didn't want total slapstick, at least not for this.
Well, tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that listeners need to be aware of.
Sure. Well, it fits in with your curveball name of your podcast. I'm calling it a novel, and it's in right now at my publisher. It'll be right now. My publishing date is April 2nd, 2027. I'm calling it a Field of Dreams for Women. If you remember the Kevin Costner movie Field of Dreams, about the baseball players who come out of the cornfield. But mine is about a female softball coach who loses her job at an elite high school in Denver, Colorado, and ends up taking a job at a little tiny rural high school where the kids are really there. It's a lot of poverty, a lot of challenges. And she decides she's going to try to make them champions and get her old job back. And while she's doing this, she meets kind of a strange man who kind of shows up around the ball field a lot, and he becomes her mentor. He's very nice and kind, and he encourages her. And she's going to have a little bit of a reckoning with her family's past with this man, because there's some things that will come to light that will be very surprising to her. So it's got a little bit of magic in it, magical realism, you'd call it. And I hope a lot of heart, because it's a team story of girls who don't have much, and they learn to come together as a team, and how she coaches them to that.
All right. Well, so everybody can keep up with everything that you're up to, throw out your contact info.
Sure. I have a website, bethbrookhart.com, BethBrookHart.com. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as Beth Brookhart. And my book's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and I think Target and Walmart as well. So, but my website's a place to find me.
All right. We'll close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if there was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, or any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
No, other than I would just say, if, for listeners who have a dream of something they've always wanted to do that's in reason. I mean, obviously, if you're my age, 67 years old, you're not going to play NBA basketball. You're not going to get on a team like that. That's gone past you. But things like writing and other creative processes, you can do it. And I would say, don't let your age hinder you. Just go for it. Try it out. Learn the craft, whatever it is. Learn about what you want to do, and just go for it. Life is short, so make the most of it.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, to keep up with everything that Beth is up to, BethBrookhart.com is the place to go. So please be sure to follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. Also, please share the show and the website, www.curveball337.com, to everybody that you know. And if you haven't checked out the site, go check it out and leave us a review, follow the show, leave us some voicemail or anything like that, and check out some episodes. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Beth, thank you for all that you do, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Until next time, keep living the dream.